Welcome to another segment of Lore You Should Know. This is where I talk to a specifically fun person on the D&D team, Ari Levitch. Hi, Ari.
Hello, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too. It's been a while since we've done a Lore You Should Know, but just in case you need to know, it is where we talk about a specific part of Dungeons & Dragons lore to know and enjoy, but also potentially for use in your upcoming D&D sessions. And today, in honor of The Wild Beyond the Witchlight coming out next month, we wanted to talk about etiquette in the Feywild in general, but also more specifically in the small area of Prismeer that we're exploring in The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So, Ari, what can you tell us about the kind of where this idea of the behaviors that you do in the Feywild might be different from those you might experience on the material plane?
Yeah, so the Feywild is an odd place, especially compared to the material plane. It is the expectations of one's behavior in the Feywild differ from domain of delight to domain of delight. So, but what we do know is that in the Feywild itself, there are these kind of weird behavioral quirks that, whether you know it or not, as somebody visiting the Feywild, you are expected to follow. Like you often don't get the free pass because you're not from around here. But both denizens and visitors to the Feywild are supposed to adhere to these rules. Now, oftentimes the rules aren't necessarily the rules might be pretty clearly stated, but the interpretations of those rules might be a little different. So I want to talk about Prismeer specifically. This is the domain of delight that is featured in The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. And the rules of etiquette were established by Zybilna, the archfey who established this domain. And Zybilna set down three major rules. There's the rule of hospitality, ownership, and reciprocity. And so I'll break some of those down, but then I want to get into some of the nuances of how these could be interpreted or perhaps misconstrued, and all the hijinks that can ensue from there.
Right, it's almost like a wish spell. How you can get what you want, but it may not be exactly what you were expecting.
Right. So the first rule that Zybilna set down is the rule of hospitality. Now, the rule of hospitality is, if somebody enters your home, you are supposed to treat them, with hospitality. You are not, you're not supposed to attack somebody in your home, and you're supposed to treat them as honored guests, unless they violate they violate your hospitality. If they abuse your hospitality or they take advantage of it, and then kind of all bets are off. Now, what that means and what might offend a particular Fey denizen, we don't know. So, for example, if you are, you might be enjoying some tea in a Fey household, and if you perhaps maybe spill a little bit of your tea by accident, or you put your cup down in the wrong spot, like that might be a violation. So there are these kind of weird off-kilter interpretations of what hospitality means or what it could mean. And you always, as somebody visiting the Feywild, you want to be cognizant of the fact that the rules that the way that you think the rule is meant to be read might be a little bit different, but there is always the rule of hospitality. And so part of the joy of playing in the Feywild or DMing for an adventure in the Feywild is being able to play with what these rules actually mean to the particular Fey denizens that are there.
All right, well, what about the next rule, the rule of ownership?
Yeah, the rule of ownership. So essentially it boils down to, don't take what's not yours, right? And so, I mean, it's pretty clear. You don't want to, you can't take things, like whether it's whatever it is, you're not supposed to steal it unless it has been offered. There is this sense of ownership, and bear in mind that the things that a Fey creature might find valuable or claim ownership over also might be weird and quirky. So you might have the one that collects I collect buttons or whatever. Yep. And so if you take one of my buttons, like, that's my prized button, you better be careful, like that kind of a thing. And so like, even the concept of ownership, and not just objects, they might have this sense of ownership over an emotion, or you as a visitor to the Feywild might have things that are incorporeal. You might have memories that people might want to take, and so these laws are there to guard visitors from being having their things stolen by brigands in the Feywild. Now, here's the thing: when Zybilna was active as the Archfey in her domain, she adhered to these rules strictly, and therefore everybody had to adhere to those rules in her archdomain strictly. In her absence, the hags kind of vary in terms of their commitment to adhering to these rules and their interpretation of that. So if there are brigands that are taking things, or if there is a thief that is stealing, it might be at the hag's behest that they are doing it. And so there's this, especially when the hags themselves see their individual realms as theirs, that they own those realms, and therefore everything that is in those realms. And so again, so much of this is about the interpretation and the ability of the particular archfey who has set these rules to enforce them.
So the third law, what was the third rule that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, so this is the rule of reciprocity. This is the idea that if you are presented with a gift, you are supposed to return a gift, not return the gift you were given, but exchange it for a gift that is seen kind of equivalent value. And this goes again to, it plays to this idea that you might not know that you've been given a gift. So, right, if somebody kind of offers you tea or the idea of what constitutes a gift is kind of up for grabs to a degree, or up to interpretation, and also what is considered valuable as an exchange. So, you might offer gold, and that particular fey creature finds gold just reprehensible, and they might they would rather have your ability to smile, like that, like, you have a great smile, I want that, and they might take that, or that's the thing that they find valuable, or they might find the last crumbs from a sandwich, the most valuable. These are the choicest morsels, are the final crumbs. But discovering what those things are is part of the joy of navigating the Feywild. So hospitality, ownership, and reciprocity, these are the fixed rules in Prismeer. Not necessarily all of the Feywild adheres to this, but these are specifically for Prismeer. But the interpretation of those is where the fun role-playing opportunities come in. Yeah. And the potential for danger if these are violated.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So, like, if violating these, what's the consequences? Like, does that change from Fey to Fey, or is there a set kind of like, okay, well, you didn't give me a gift, so I now can steal from you whatever I want? How does that work?
That's definitely, that varies from Fey creature to Fey creature, especially because in Zybilna's absence, like, there's no kind of great arbiter of how to kind of mete out justice, and so no place to take these grievances, really. And so, yeah, it's kind of up to these Fey, and some might just be offended and be like, I was going to help you, but I'm not going to anymore. They might just be on their way. They might deliberately get you lost or turned around. They might try to cause you harm if they find the offense was great enough to do so. But the idea of leading astray is probably the most Fey thing possible. I think that it is open to interpretation, or it's open. Sorry, the reaction varies from Fey to Fey for sure.
All right, well, that's super cool stuff. I can't wait for more D&D fans to get into The Wild Beyond the Witchlight when it releases on September 21st. Very exciting, and we'll learn more about it as we get closer to it. Thank you, Ari, for coming on and talking through this.
It was a pleasure.
I feel like I have to give you a gift. So I will give you this coffee cup mug.
All right,
And
I will
It
collect
actually looks
that.
like a little Feywild.
It does. It does. That's good.
Awesome. How can people find out about you and what you're doing, and perhaps give you some gifts?
I am at Ari Levitch on Twitter, and beyond that, I'm kind of have a hermit existence.
As many of us do now.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So
awesome, cool. All right, well, give Ari a follow, and we'll be back with more segments next week.
Great. Talk to you later.
Bye, everybody.